Welcome. I am Judy Laird Jacobs, the Executive Director of the Friends of the Blue Hills. And I'd like to thank you for coming to the first Poo-lution solution volunteer training. We're so excited that you'd like to help us kick off this initiative. Most people absolutely take care of their dogs in the Blue Hills. They keep them on a leash and dispose of their dog's waste. This initiative began because people were contacting us to complain about the minority of people who are leaving their dog poop bags in the park. But it's not just a problem that affects visitors' enjoyment. Dog waste is a serious environmental hazard, which Claire will talk about in a few minutes. The solution to this problem is not straightforward. If we put up signs telling people to bag and remove their dog's waste, will people respond to the signs? And how will we know if the signs are working? And which ones work the best? DCR doesn't have the resources for receptacles, but if the Friends as an organization devoted resources for receptacles, would that make a difference? And how would we know? That's where your contribution as volunteers comes in. By surveying the trails, you'll help identify the most polluted trails that we should focus on. Then in the spring, we will start testing different campaigns with different messages to encourage people to bag and take out their dog's waste. Your efforts at surveying the trails will help us determine which campaigns are working and which ones are not. Because this is a big problem that's not isolated to the Blue Hills, we've partnered with a number of organizations, including Friends of the Fells, who will be working with a marketing firm this winter to develop campaigns that we will test at both Middlesex Fells and the Blue Hills in the spring. We're also partnering with the Department of Conservation and Recreation, who will work with us throughout the whole process. And if we identify successful strategies, the DCR will take the campaigns that you have helped test here to other parks throughout the state. So although it could take some time, but what you develop here could be a state model if we're successful. We're also partnering with Earthwise Aware and Claire O'Neill, who's here today. And she has developed an app to track your survey efforts, and she'll be leading the training today. So the purpose of this campaign is to develop strategies to reduce dog waste pollution in the Blue Hills. And ideally, those strategies can be replicated throughout the state. Before we begin, I want to thank the Friends of the Blue Hills Clean Parks Committee, whose members have really helped envision and shape this effort. And you guys can wave if your camera is on and you're in there, but thank you. And I want to thank our new chair of that committee, Karina Bandel, who's on this call. And if you have your screen set, you can see her too. And lastly, I wanted to let you know, just a heads up to put it on your calendar, that Claire, in addition to this training, she's offered to lead an in-person training on January 20th during the day. So you can mark your calendar. And now I'd like to introduce Claire O'Neill. Claire, we are thrilled to partner with her and really appreciate her developing this app, which will make it easy for you to track the waste. She is a founder of Earthwise Aware and the director of its Biodiversity and Climate Participatory Science Program. It's an initiative that it connects the public with its immediate natural systems and empowers communities. Claire is also co-chair of the US-based Citizen Association Ethics Working Group, focusing her efforts on raising awareness and providing resources for advancing ecology and conservation citizen science ethics. Locally, Claire is co-organizer of the iNatural City Naturals Challenge for the greater Boston area, and she is a busy woman. She also serves as a board member for the Friends of the Fells and is an advisor for the Green and Open Somerville group. Thank you, Claire.
All right, everybody can hear me? Okay, great. So first I have an accent. I'm from France originally. So, if you need to have some explanation or whatever, you can chat. I mean, I won't look right away, but I'm sure that Judy will pass the comments there. So yeah, I'm the founder of Earthwise Aware. So this is our webpage here. I just want to place us for a second. So we are a fairly young organization, nonprofit organization, and we focus on biodiversity. We bring biodiversity knowledge and science, ecological ethics, and environmental leadership to our community. We are known now for our citizen science program, which is really focused on natural systems. So we do many, many things about arthropods, plant cycles, habitat assessment, vernal pool documentation, habitat fragmentation. And actually, we started to do something a year ago or so, actually more than a year ago, when we started to notice really a lot of poop, dog poop in the fells, which is one of our major sites, right? We have different sites in the region. We want to do something about it. And we started, I'm a data person, by the way. So we started to imagine a way to collect the data so that somehow it could inform some future study, both on the academic side, but also help, local organizations to try to alleviate, mitigate this kind of problem there. So this is what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you, if I can move my mouse in my second screen. Where is my mouse? Here we are. I'm going to show you an app. So we develop an app for the fells, specifically for the fells, where the protocol is slightly different because we do habitat degradation study. So for us at the fells, it's more about the penetration, how deep the poop, the dog poop is in the Middlesex fells. For the Blue Hills, we're going to reuse the same app, a slightly different protocol. The protocol behind the scene is going to be slightly different because it's about a before and after picture, with a campaign in the middle, right? So what I want to show to you today is the app. Okay, first here we are in the sheepfold in the fell. So this is a regular site at this site, actually. But even if you go in the fells, you can find this dog poop or in bags or not in bags, really scattered throughout the fells. Right? So here we created an edition of the app specifically for the Blue Hills because Judy was asking if there was also the possibility to annotate the data so that when an action is taken, such as, the bag is removed there, we can somehow have information about that, right? So in order to enrich the data. So this is what the app looks like when you will have it on your mobile phone, on your smart device. But why do we do that? The thing is, people do not realize that, I think, most of the time, is dog poop is really a big issue in terms of pollution, right? Often we have heard, people say, well, why do people put that in bags? And I say, actually, bags are bad. But even if they were not in bag, that would also be bad, right? For the same reason that, it's not really recommended for us on this corner of, the Middlesex County to poop in the fells. Well, same with the dog. The issue is that we have really enriched diets, right? And which are really meant to somehow prolong our life, to have very rich life. But this diet has nothing to do with a regular diet or the diet, for example, of a fox or a coyote, right? So the diet that our dog or our diet is really very much enriched with nitrate or compound that affect the soil, right? So one of the reasons why we wanted actually to do that also in the fells, because people ask me often, what does it have to do with science? I said, by having really this data collection, this is a public view of our map here for the fells, what we inform in terms of, locally, we inform also about density. If you were to zoom, for example, at some of the area which are close to parking lot, we can inform about density, of poop in specific location, which becomes somehow a means to say, okay, I'm going to do some kind of sample analysis of water or soil, right? So it becomes a base layer, a database layer for further study, right? For us, we also use it, as I said, for another intent, which is to see how deep in the fells and not just at the location of the parking lot, how deep in we can find, this kind of pollution, because we're also working with vernal pool. We do documentation of vernal pool and sensitive habitat in the fell. So how this kind of two layers intersect so that we can prioritize areas where we could mitigate, or restore, have a restorative actions, right? So going back there, I'm going back there. So really, the key here is the bag or not the bag. Both are very bad because the poop stays in at location, right? We see that. We see sometimes some bags that stay for 2-3 weeks. The thing is here, and there is seepage in the soil there, right? So fecal matter really matters, and we want to take action. And a good way of looking at it is to take the data about it, right? All right. So what you're going to have is a tool. The tool is a mobile app. The very first thing, so I'm going to do a quick run through there, and you can do that actually directly if you, I might be able to do something for you so that you can even try to do that right away while I'm talking. So I'm going to give that to you in the chat. This is, there we go. Hopefully you can, if you click on that, it's just this thing here. And if you were to go to the page like that, you can follow and install that on your phone. Oops, and here we are again. Right. So on your Google Store, on your App Store, Apple App Store, you're going to go and try to find ArcGIS, right? What you will do is to install it, simply install it. For that, of course, because we're going to rely upon the location where you find that bag or dog poop, then it is important that you allow photo access on your phone for that, for the app. You can do it, solely for your app rather than having it open, for all the apps that you have on your phone, right? Realize that, of course, Survey 123. This is one of the tools from ArcGIS, and they have this kind of apps, solution, which is both on Google, Android, and Apple. So, what I'm showing here is through Google things, but for Apple, it's the same kind of things, right? And if you have any issue, you can always contact me to say, Claire, I have an issue. I'm not finding on Apple, the equivalent there, and we can look together, right? All right. So if you have any question, you can ask me as we discussed there. So as I said, you want to make sure that you allow the Survey 123, which is kind of the hub for all the survey there, to take pictures and record video. Although we don't care about the videos, but it's part of the same deal there. Okay. And you want to do that while using the app, not only this time or deny. If you do that, then suddenly we won't be able to pinpoint on a map where are your records, which is important, right? So very simple. When you will be in the field, right, or you can do that right now as well, the thing is you don't need to sign in with ArcGIS Online because usually ArcGIS Online requires some specific license. Here you can simply log in anonymously, right, into the Survey 123. So fairly simple. And once you are in, right, again, you want to make sure that there is a second layer there, but you want to make sure that you allow the access, of the device, to this app there. What you can do is you can scan, this QR code, right? So that somehow it's going to direct to our specific EWA app for recording the dog poop in the Blue Hills. Does it make sense? If you can do that. Right. Good? All good for now? All right. So once you have that, you're going to have simply, you're going to see that it's going to offer you the opportunity to somehow collect from this survey, that the specific survey here for the Blue Hills. And then you're ready to go. So the little hurdle is just to get in. Once you get in, then after that, it's smooth. So you're ready to go. Very simple. This is the first page that you're going to have, or the first screen using the app. You're going to enter your email so that somehow, if there is any issue, because we're going to be able, if we have contact information, if there is any issue in terms of what we see in your picture, right, we can contact you. There is a feedback loop, and this is for data quality. Right. Some people have asked, can we just bypass that? The issue is that there has been, this is an public open app. So there has been in the past some malicious type of people who entered, wrong kind of data, something that was absolutely not a poop. So we have to do data quality. We have to sample the data just to make sure that what we see, what we receive in our apps is indeed poop, either in the form of a bagged poop or unbagged poop, right? So the way to do it, so there's nothing that beats, me, for example, being in the field and checking that the app works fine. And I realized that, entering my information all the time was not something that I wanted to do. So there is a little trick there. The trick is you enter it once. So you're going to enter, for example, let me see if I have it here. right? myname@gmail.com, for example. And what you're going to do is to store your email answers there by clicking on these 3 lines there, right? And you're going to set it as your favorite answer. Like that, each time that you are in the field, the only thing that you're going to do is to recall these things and then, pull back this information rather than having to type it over and over again, right?
Claire, do you want me to interrupt you with questions that people have?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So someone asked, Ira says, can you go back one step? How to find the EWA Blue Hills survey?
Okay, so here we are. So once you install the Esri app, the thing is here, you're going to scan the QR code. I sent in the chat the link to this presentation so that you can go on this slide number, I don't know what is slide number 7, and with your phone, right, simply scan it. You can scan it directly from the Esri application, right? Here, you see that? You're going to click there and scan from there, scan this code. And once you have that, it should pull you there and show you that, right? Good, thank you. Thank you for the thumbs up. Excellent. Another question, Judy?
That's it for now.
Okay, great. No, that's good. So first trick, as I said, is rather than having to type again and again your name, which would be, annoying, you can store it once and then recall it, but set it as your favorite answer. And when you are in the field, just recall it, right? So you are in the field and this is what happens. So you're going to see that there's going to be a little map there, and it's there just to make sure. This is where I live, actually. This is not necessarily the greatest. I just realized it's not the greatest slide because this is exactly where I live. So anyway, talk about, personal data there. But anyway, so you want to make sure that when you are in the field, somehow this map, you don't have to interact with it, but it points to the right location. Because it happens sometimes that with your phone, you go in the field and somehow your phone remembers where you were 5 minutes ago, which might have been in a parking lot or at your house. So usually I look at it the first time that I collect because the phone needs to warm up and pick up the signal. Although through the app, by the way, it has a determination of location that is more precise than if you were taking a picture just with your phone. Somehow, I don't know exactly how they do that, but going through satellite, they have a slightly better location. So it's fairly quick, but just check when you do your first record in the field that indeed you are definitely in the right location, right? So that's here just to guarantee that you don't have a wrong location, right? And then we're going to do a little session there. You're going to look at whatever you're looking. So let me jump back. So let me see, we are slide 11. If I was to take a picture of that, so usually what happens is within a square yard, right? I don't want to take a picture of every single bag. There is no point for that. That's why we have a multiplier, right? So here I'm counting that there is 1, 2, of course, if I was right to it, I would see better. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's say that there's about 12 total, right? So that's where the thing is for, right? So you can take one single picture, which shows your, let's say, 12 bags at a single location in a yard square, and then you can here, type 12. I'm seeing 12 bags, right? And then don't forget to take your picture. Now, to simplify, sometime it's possible that you have within a square yard, you have a few. And we say, within the square yard, good. If you have things that are slightly, distant from one another, it's better to have 2 surveys, what we call 2 surveys. So let's say that you have one here and one over there, and it's 5-yard distance. And I talk in yards because I know that yards is roughly meters for me, in my metric system, right? So if they were together in a yard square, I would take one picture with the 2. If they were together, let's say on either side of a trunk, a tree, I would take 2 pictures with a multiplier of 2 here, right? And I would take 2 pictures. I can add up to 5 pictures with this single survey. If they were at 5-yard distance, I would take 2 different surveys. I would collect one there, finish that survey, and start another one over there, right? You'll see that very easily there. So here, let's say that I had 3 poop showing, and then I would take the picture, of the 3 scats within a yard of one another, right? And here, this is a field here that is specific to the Blue Hill that the fells don't have, right? People say, why don't you pick up in the fells? I said, because sometimes in the fells, I do a survey and I take pictures of 60 bags and I'm in doing other things. So I'm not going to collect all this poop, right? So I cannot do that. So for you at the Blue Hills, it's going to be slightly different because you're going to be within 1/4 of a mile, right? Roughly on a trail. So if you want to do that, if it's an action you want to take, do it. And like that, that allows us somehow to have a qualification of the record somehow. We can annotate the record, enrich the record, and make, some decision or infer some things about it, right? So this is specific to the Blue Hill there. Question about this slide there?
So do people have questions about the multiplier, about how to get there? Now's the time to kind of let us know if you need any clarification.
All right.
Okay, good.
Okay, clear enough. Good. And then here, sometimes, I have the people want to add a little notes about what they are seeing, other type of litter around, or this kind of things, or a memo. So it's perfectly fine. It's there. Or they want to alert, the organization behind the Blue Hills and us about something specific there. That's your chance here to add, additional notes there. Okay. So very easy. It looks like our people in the fells, the citizen scientists in the fells, find it really easy to use. And actually, it's an upgrade for us because at the very beginning, when we were piloting, so that was 1.5 years ago, we were actually sharing an album, and then it became completely not doable because there was a lot of things that we had to do manually to pull the data from one area to the other. So, okay, it's time for an app now. That's why we developed that. Okay. So that's next slide there. So here, I'm running through that again. Just
another question before you jump in. Do we care about counting bagged versus unbagged?
No, just pull it because we're going to be able to qualify to see that looking at the data, right? You're going to have an issue, by the way, not an issue, it's hard. And you're going to see that depending on the weather, depending on the season, sometimes it's harder than others. I have a slide about that, right? You're going to see that you're going to be able to detect more easily bags than, just poop lying on the ground, right? Unless it's on snow, right? So, and it's okay. It's a given that there is a kind of a non-detection probability behind the scene. So in a sense, what you're going to be able to see is what I call the tip of the poop pile, right? So, because there's much more that indeed you're not going to see. You're going to be on a trail. You're going to look in a buffer on each side of the trail. So of about, I don't know, as far as you can see, that's going to be probably 5-10 yards, but you're not going to be able to see much deeper. So it's not a census, it's really a survey. You are sampling in a sense, right? And what is important is that you sample in a kind of a regular fashion, following the same kind of principles, okay? I'm just thinking there. A thing that is important is you are different volunteers, which is pretty cool. Why? Because there's no two people who see the same thing in a sense. I've noticed that, interestingly, so I'm a poop master in a sense. When I go in the field, I see a lot. I have my intern with me. So I had that last week. So I had one of our interns and they were on the other survey side. And I said to Sherry, you're going to take the poop data? I said, yeah, Claire, I'm going to. And we followed more or less the same route, right? And I guess I have that now. It's on my antenna. And then when we finished, so I was doing habitat fragmentation, informal trail survey, ecological assessment. She was doing phenology with the team, another team. And then we convene at the end. I say, so Sherry, did you see? She said, I didn't see much. I saw one. I say, haha, I saw 8 on the same trail. And she looked out, oh my God. I said, I'm going to have to show you the tricks, right? So it's amazing. It takes actually some kind of practice to be a good poop master, right? I call that the poop command game, by the way. So
Claire,
yeah.
Another question. What about bags tossed into water, ponds, and streams?
So you're not going to go there. I mean, I bet you that you're not going to put your feet in the water in order to find them, but count them. If you see them, count them, take a picture from afar. Right. So in my opinion, your transect, that's called a transect, and as far as you can see, often you're going to be able to see up to, let's say, 10 yards, not really much, unless it's really completely obvious. Right. But go for it, because somehow the buffer is kind of the same for everybody. Right. Does it make sense what I say? Right. It's a sampling that you are doing. So here, this is an example. So we are within 1 yard. right? And I have 3 occurrences. So I have 1 and 2. So I have 2 pictures, but my multiplier is going to be 3, right? So I'm taking my picture, clicking on that. I'm taking my second picture there, and then my multiplier is 3 somewhere that I've put there, right? And then once I'm done, here, another trick. I advise that when you are in the field on your survey, at the very beginning, I was sending now each of them. But the relay of sending the data over the wire takes too much time, in my opinion, right? And then I realized, I discovered, I said, oh, wait a minute, I can simply save in what they call an outbox, right? And then once I'm back home, by the way, on my wireless, then I can send all the data at once, right? Like that, you also save data in a sense on your phone. So it's much quicker. You don't have the back and forth. I don't want to wait when I'm walking. I'm surveying. So what I do is each of the survey, I save them in the outbox. And then once I'm home, I make sure that I revisit, the app, and then I click the send button, right? And once I send, this is what happens there. And then that's it. I'm done. Very easy. And by the way, what I invite you to do is, install the app, go on the Blue Hills, and let's say that, within the next 2 weeks, try it. I'm going to see, because I'm going to be on the receiving end. At this point, I am the one who is behind the data at EWA. I'd love to have more people, but, one thing at a time. So I'm going to look, regularly just to see and clean up a little bit and maybe even give advice, right? And it's going to inform me about how I can do this in-person training, just to see if there is some issue that I can pinpoint when we are together in the Blue Hills on the 20th of January or something like that, right? So try it. It's okay. This is the pilot phase for the Blue Hills, up to the end of up to the training. Let's put it this way. So very simple. Here is a little thing here. Oh, let me actually run that one. Okay. This is what I call the poop game on game, right? My husband is an attorney, and he said that there is copyright infringement. I said, this is a free thing here. This is a free graphic, right? For a good cause, so hopefully we're good. So here, for you, essentially, it's going to be at least once a month. It would be better if you go twice a month, on your regular route. You can go, a fourth of a mile. If you go a little bit deeper, it's actually nice somehow, because you're going to see that probably there is going to be a higher density, closer to the parking lots or where people, start, their trail, and then it starts to decrease, right? So here, depending on when in the year or season, right, it might be a little bit hard. For us, the toughest time is actually the fall, because suddenly this is, okay, let me show you that. Okay, here, this is what you see, right? Suddenly you have leaves absolutely everywhere. And on top of that, those bags, if you're looking for the bag, I also look for the other one, the unbagged. Well, you have green bags, they're green. I don't know why they make green. I think they would be better red or another color so that we can really pinpoint them, right? Although it's interesting because us humans, we have specific cones in our eyes, and green is a color that we can really see. We can see different hues of green, completely different topic there. But here, if I ask you, okay, can you spot the bag? Do you see it? Is there something in the chat window to tell me where it is? Judy, is there some answers? Did people find it? I know it's a tricky one, right? I'm really testing people here, but that can happen, right?
It's about 5 o'clock from the tree.
5 o'clock from the tree, actually.
Another one says foreground center, lower left.
Yeah.
Another one is lower left.
So here, it's here. This is actually, so I spotted it, right? Here we are. Of course, on the picture, this is an unfair game right now because you're on a picture and you cannot really move close to the bag here, but this is how it showed. So in the fall, this is the toughest time. And this is actually usually what happens in the fall. I'm definitely in the field to make sure that I can compensate for the low record that I see from our crew because people have a hard time, right? It became a game for me. So now I always have my app ready because each time I go to the fells, I don't know, I have my antenna to look, even if I'm supposedly on a kind of a free ride, I'm relaxing. But here, so it can be a little bit hard, but these are important records anyway, right? Okay. So the tips here, some people ask me for the fells, can I survey right after a snowstorm? I say, no, wait a little bit, because a snowstorm is going to cover everything you're not going to see. If you wait a day or so, then you're going to start to see them popping back up, and actually you're going to have the new ones, right? But actually what is interesting when you have the snowstorm is, lower left, when you have a snowstorm or snow on the ground, you see much more, many more of the unbagged poop. Right. For some reason, people don't even put them in bags, it looks like, anymore, right? They just are there. And remember, they're also bad. But look up as well. Another tip here is looking on the ground is one thing. So me, I scan all the time. That's kind of my second nature. I scan not just for that. I scan for any style of biodiversity. I look for bird. I'm a birder as well. So I kind of have this 180 vision now that I developed over the years. So I'm always scanning for stuff and for the unusual. So, and a bag is something that is unusual, or dog poop is something unusual, or scat, or whatever. So, and I've been surprised to see that, well, I don't know, a good 5% of the poop that we find is actually, at eye level, because for some reason people throw them and they end up in shrubs or whatever. So they're not necessarily on the ground. They can be also sometimes even high in the tree. I don't know what they're doing. People are very creative, and you can find them very high, right? So look up as well. That's another trick there, right? So that's what I wanted to show you essentially. So here is an example. We're going to have that for the Blue Hills, of course, right? This is an example of what we do IWA with the fells, and to our community, including the Friends of the Fells. Once a month, we pull all the report and we show them that. Right. So just for the month, quick stat, kind of a quick stat things, right? And we show somehow the increase or decrease, right? What you're going to see, actually, interestingly, I think I have that somewhere. Let me see that here, is that there are cycles. There are, some kind of season. So here it doesn't show nicely enough, in my opinion, but there are some seasons where you see more. Let me try to find this view there. Give me a quick second. I had an issue with our site today. So here, I'm going to show you something. Maybe there, and I'm going to do the last one. I had an issue. Actually, I know what I'm going to do. Give me a quick second. Sorry about that. I just want to make sure that we have the best view there. Okay, so that's some of the raw data there, so that you can see. Okay, here. See that? So this is what we've done so far. December is going. We're going to be finished with winter very soon. But look, and actually we can see that this cycle has been almost 2 years now, right? There is a cycle, there is a dip. For some reason, there is a dip, and we're going to see next year if we have the same kind of dip, maybe less pronounced, but if there is a dip. So interestingly, in the winter, we can see more, right? And there might be some different kind of reason for that. As I said, as soon as you have snow, somehow it reveals another kind of poop, right? So there is a little bit of things happening there, but there are cycles happening, right? So just wanted to show you that. Behind the scene, the data. So here, this is since August, so just since August, that's how we collect the data on the back end, right? So I'm not going to dig in because I want to be cautious with private information of citizen scientists. So I'm not going to show that here. But we've seen that, indeed, month per month, somehow this is the same kind of picture that we have, same kind of location. We're going really pretty much everywhere in the fells, right? So for you, it's going to be different. As I said, for us in the fells, what it is, it's about penetration, because we want to create a layer that intersect with vernal pool and sensitive habitat to see where they are, right? For the Blue Hills, it's going to be slightly different. Yeah. Because you're going to do a slightly different kind of campaign. So that's going to be the interactive maps. That's a dummy trail and a dummy poop here. I don't go enough in the Blue Hills. I would love to. But you're going to have your trail So there is after, on the Blue Hills page, there is also a way to sign up and to say, okay, this is a trail that I'm going to do, right? You can also record your trail as a GPX. I'll explain if people don't know how to do that, so that it actually is how to draw the trails ourselves on this map. And then you're going to do your trails, a certain numbers of time of a month, and going deep as, a quarter mile, a little bit more maybe. And then there's going to be a before and after. That's the goal of the Blue Hills there, is to see if there is a difference depending on the campaign that the Blue Hills is going to do, right? So it's going to be a slightly different protocol, but it's going to be very interesting to see the result, over time, right? Okay. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you. I just wanted to show you today, okay, the importance of doing that, right? I think it's critical. I think it's a very nice entryway to citizen science as well. You would be surprised. So EWA does a lot of things, as I said, arthropod, plant survey, phenology, so cycle on plant and on fauna and flora. And a lot of people are excited by that. Why? Because it's an easy way in to the citizen science world, right? And gathering data and important data. So our people know that we value this kind of data. We have super surveyors where they are very diligent at doing that. Some mix that with other activities. We have runners, for example. We have hikers, trekkers, and we have good data from that. So very, very important data and easy data to obtain with a lot of implication, a lot of good consequence there, right? I think that, yeah.
Thank you, Claire. When I just put in the chat, the link to where you can sign up for trail or trails that you'd like to visit once or twice a month, and you can sign up for as many as you want. You would put down the name of the trail and also the trailhead where you're going to be surveying, and it could be both ends or wherever, but we would just want a sense of who's going to be where. And there is also a question, this is strictly poop documentation, not other trash. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct. It's just about dog poop. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And if some of you are, trail map users, All Trails, Gaia, GPS, etc., then you can record your trail and send that. So that would be a KML or GPX file, right? And then you can send that like that. We just have to pull. We don't have to recreate that trail, on the map, so that it ends up being on that map that I showed you right here. Okay. Are people excited?
Yeah. So what do you guys think? You on board? Great. Are there any last questions? Oh, Ira has one. You can just unmute yourself, I think.
When does the formal survey period start?
So I'm thinking, so Judy should be the one to answer that, but I think that it would be nice to have a little bit of what I call a dry run, right? You try stuff, I can see your data, I can correct you, I can help you taking better data. Plus there's going to be a training, as I said, on the 20th, 5 days after my birthday. It's a birthday present to myself to give you a training about how to really find poops on the trail. Right? So I think that, Judy, what kind of timeline do you have?
You can start surveying tomorrow. That would be awesome. And essentially over the next couple months, we're going to be learning how to do it. What support you need, do we need to have several trainings? And over the data that you collect over the next couple months will help us show kind of like they already know in the fells, like these are the trails where it's all, happening. So we would develop that information for the Blue Hills. And then in the spring, when we have a campaign to test, we'll go to those trails. Like we'll know exactly where we should be testing our campaigns. So then in the springtime, we'll, that's kind of, we'll be using the data differently because we'll be comparing to the trails that there aren't campaigns, and maybe we'll test a couple different campaigns within the Blue Hills, but certainly anything that you collect now will help us determine where the trails to focus, and then later we'll look at it in terms of campaigns.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
And the dry, just to continue on that, and the dry run period is nice because you're going to see again that it takes a little bit of practice. You know, at the very beginning, you're going to see 1, 2, 3, and then suddenly you're going to start to see much more, right? It takes a little bit of practice to recognize that on a trail. Right?
I see a lot.
Oh, that's great. So you're already in.
There was a question about the in-person solution and pollution training. And I've just put that in the chat. You could sign up for the January 20th training. And if you can't make that date and think it would be helpful, let us know, because after Claire trains us, then we can train you.
Yeah.
So let's see, there's some other questions. Okay, is this survey just to collect data, or is there an end result in mind, like some sort of management or cleanup effort? So yes, there is, we're going to be using the data to test a behavioral change campaign. So the idea is to have less waste in the Blue Hills through these campaigns. And that's what this data is being used for. We can also, I mean, it's a good idea to also, like, once we know where it is, then maybe we can start like targeted pickup efforts. But and maybe people in this group would be up for it. I usually kind of don't use volunteers to pick up dog poop just because I just feel so bad. Like, we can do trash, but anyway, so you guys can let me know about that. Can you tell us the most popular trails that you might want included? Ooh, that's what we want you to do. So my assumption is that, you know, up to Great Blue is, you know, from the Trailside Museum. Everyone does that trail. So I'm assuming that that's like hugely popular. I'm assuming that trails like around Houghton's Pond are like super popular. You know, and then from there, I think, you know, like, we just want to get your, we want to know from you guys which ones. Like, I imagine St. Moritz is pretty popular. Like, any of the large parking lots, I assume would be good. But that's just my guess.
So, and it's actually, this is a good point. This is sometimes just a guess. It's not because you have a parking lot that you're going to necessarily have dogs, because it all depends on the terrain as well and the person. So I've noticed that some trails have a parking lot in the fells, but there's not necessarily a lot of dog poop. Why? Because it's super steep, right? It's rocky. So dog owner are not going necessarily to risk, you know, breaking a limb on that, right? So often you're going to have a flatter trail that's going to be much more popular in terms of dog poop. And how did we find that? By actually having volunteers going out and coming the first layer of data and say, oh, okay, this one it looks like more popular than this one. And then we went, you know, at location, and we realized, oh, this is probably the reason why this one is more popular. The terrain is different. This one is steeper. It's, you know, harder. It's harder to get onto that trail. So first layer of data is also potentially going to help finding what are the area where you want to focus even more later, right? Does it make sense what I say?
And maybe as things go on and we kind of, you know, we'll kind of be in touch with folks who are engaged, and to just say, like, we have nobody in Quincy Quarries. Can you go to Quincy Quarries? So we'll, maybe there'll be some kind of interactive adjustments along the way. Karina asks, can we cover again how to create the trail on the Blue Hills map?
So if you have, let me find that here. So this is the form from this page from the Blue Hills, right? So this is a page where, okay, if you want to sign up for a trail, here it is. So if you click there, you have a little form, and what Judy has is that, you know, you can describe your trail there, but what it would entail is that, you know, I go into the map to somehow find that trail. I'm not familiar with the Blue Hills. So the best way, and that's what we ask our fells people, is, okay, get the Old Trail or Gaia GPS app. right? Because on this app, there are trail apps. So once you are there, what you can do is you can track your route, right? You can start a track on this Gaia GPS or all trails, start a track. And when you finish your track, you click a finish button. And then what you can do there from these apps is to export a track. And usually these tracks are in the form of KML, GPX, or other things, but often the GPX and KMLs are the best one, the easiest one. So if you have that, if you have one of those two apps, I'm sure there are others. I have Gaia GPS, for example. Do that, export your track, meaning sending it to yourself, and then you can add it as a file here. And then I will receive it on the other end, and I'll be able to pull it and just plug it in there by adding that track in. So it's going to be for me, maybe 2 minutes, getting your file, putting it there, checking that everything is fine, or maybe smoothing it if there is, a little zigzag all over the place. But it's much better than having me trying to second guess what is a trail, right? Because actually there is no digital trail or interactive trail of the Blue Hills, right? So, and trying to find what is your trail. So it's much better to just have a GPX track. Does it make sense what I say? Okay.
Yes, thank you, Claire.
You're welcome.
So I think I might not have sent that, the link to the January training to everyone. So I just put it in the chat again. And so Sherry, thanks for going out with your puppy and not contributing, but surveying. Janine, are we using predetermined routes or can we choose our own route? You can choose your own route. So just, when you go to the Blue Hills, you can decide which trail you want to visit. And I would say at least twice a month. So we can get some sense of kind of what's going on those trails. And we could have overlapping, like Claire said that, people can go on the same trail. If we sign up for a trail, should we still document poop on other trails? Yes, that would be excellent. You could totally, and you can sign up for more than one trail, or we just want to get a sense of what's covered, but definitely as you go out around, if you can document, that would be great. Apparently St. Moritz is there's way too many, so maybe start there. The trailhead by St. Moritz on Willard was horrific the last time I was there, says Joseph. Okay, so I was spot on with St. Moritz. Janine, with multiple people serving, there will be duplicate sightings. Oh, well, that's the data piece, correct? Or is that the reason you want us to sign up for a trail?
It's both. So there's going to be a little bit, so depending on the number of volunteers, so at the FALS, we are about 14 volunteers. And the duplication doesn't happen too often, again, because bizarrely, people don't see the same poop. I don't know why, right? So they might be on the same trail, but they don't see the same one. So, but how do I know that? It's because regularly I sample. For now, it's me doing that. And I check that there is no duplicate on a specific week, right? People said, well, if I go 2 weeks later and I see the same bag, do I take it? I say, yeah, because it's about the poop at that time. It's okay. I mean, at least this bag is still there. That means that at this time, there is poop on that trail. That's all that matters. But within a week, that's where we try to remove, duplicate there. So with the few numbers of volunteers that we have at the FALS, it started differently at the FALS. It's doable that I can really do an extensive work. With the Blue Hills, if there are 40 people on those trails, right, what will happen probably is me or someone else, we're going to sample, high days. I'm going to call that high density days. And just to make sure, okay, do we see a lot of duplication in the same area, right? And eliminate those, right? So that's going to be a sampling kind of process, right? Random sampling kind of process or stratified.
So on the back end, I don't know if you can show them, but she actually has pictures, like she can see the pictures that you're taking. And so she can compare your picture with their picture and see if it's the same thing. And she also has geocache information, like geolocation information, so that she can see if it's in the same area.
Exactly.
So we're not going to worry. And if it is a problem, then we'll figure it out. Like this is kind of like our figuring out process. Oh, there it is.
Right. So here I can filter, we can filter by days, by weeks, etc., and see, do we have duplication? Right. Can someone see duplication?
That's why somebody else is going to be doing this data thing.
Yeah.
So thanks, Ira, for picking up the poop. Now you can photo it before you pick it up.
Yeah.
Gaia GPS, and what was the other one? Claire mentioned ArcGIS. Oh, GPS. What did you mention? Wasn't it All Trails?
All trails. So that's for getting the track, on the map. So what will happen is, so ArcGIS, we have the ArcGIS. The Blue Hills probably don't have that, so that's okay. It's a database. We host the data there. What we'll do is we'll probably pull the data so that the Blue Hills can have that. Maybe not with the pictures. I mean, there is the systems. ArcGIS is a big mess, but it's hard to pull, pictures from one system to the other. But all the data other than that is going to be here. So probably on the EWA side, we'll be doing the data cleanup at the very beginning. So that's the ArcGIS piece there. But at the end, what we want to also give is, somehow a visual view here in terms of density, right, of what happens in the Blue Hills. So the Blue Hills will get that, as well as, some regular report about, other kind of analysis that we can do with respect to the poop there.
Did that answer your question, Ira? Great. Joseph asks, can we choose an area versus a specific trail, e.g. like Hawk Hill versus Hawk Hill Path or Glover Path? And then the second part is, and do we choose a route each time we go out, or do we choose a trail and that's our home base? So I will let you answer the area. I would assume it's okay, but can you speak to that, whether they can do an area or a trail? And we do want you to kind of commit to one trail, just so like we're trying to figure it out, and we figured that would be the easiest way for us to know what's covered and what's not covered. So you can certainly do other trails, but you could commit to this one so we could figure out in general whether we have kind of how much of the Blue Hills we have covered. And do you want to answer the trail question?
So in terms of the area, there is one thing I want to mention. So, for example, for the fells, some of our people have, it's a DCR property, which the Blue Hills as well is. We have a specific research permit also to go off trail. I'm saying that because I don't know, I'm not trying to understand what is behind an area, right, in your mind. So if an area is a kind of a complex or a network of trail, that's totally fine. If it is about you going off trail, well, from an ethical standpoint, we want to be cautious as well, right? Because we don't necessarily want to fragment an area that we're surveying, right? Unless people are, have this research permit in hand. So by area, if it is a network of trails, then perfectly fine. If it is you going into the wild, let's put it this way, it's more problematic because by surveying regularly, then somehow there is fragmentation and trampling of vegetation and things like that, right? So you see where I'm going with that? So I'm not necessarily with the area if it's just us going all over the place, because then there is an ethical implication on, the space itself, right? So it's an open door to many abuse in the sense of the habitat, right? So we want to be super cautious. Staying on trail, usually dogs are going to be more or less in the vicinity of trails. We see in the fells, going, because we do a survey of the informal trails as well to help the DCR under permit. Indeed, we see actually on walk trail, not necessarily, in the fragment, the patches of land, that dogs are there. That's why we're doing that. But in your case, what you're trying to do at the end is to have a before and after picture. So trying to have something that is more or less unified in terms of the protocol would be better. So trails would be better. It's a long answer, I know. Is it okay? Does it make sense?
What we got there. Joseph, do you want to unmute yourself so you can ask directly if we haven't answered your question?
Okay, this is about as loud as I can speak up.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
It's some scar tissue. I was asking not to go off trail, but to say make a loop.
Oh, yes.
Would include several trails.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand.
Glover,
yeah, for sure.
Braintree, Brook, Bouncing Brook, Lead Path,
Yeah.
all to make a loop on a hike is several different trail names.
Yeah, totally fine. That's what I do, Joe.
So to choose an area like Hawk Hill or Brook Hill or some specific trails.
Yeah, exactly. If you if you kind of want to make a loop or you're doing different trails and different parts of trails, of course you're not going to like do the whole trail. So so you want at least a quarter mile from the trailhead. But if you do a loop, just let us know what, you know, if you can, kind of what your route normally is, and so we know, oh, okay, these trails are covered. But
And you can see here,
totally.
Joe, so we have a few of our people there. See, they have a full loop, right? As you mentioned, right here. They have a complete loop. They do this loop once a week, right? And this is us actually, because we do our survey. Here we have hikers. They love to be there. And this person has a long loop, right? Look at this loop. Very long loop. It's much more than a fourth of a mile, right? They are there for an hour surveying and looking, right? So, which is cool because you can see how deep it goes in. So yeah. Perfect.
No, great. We have a lot of questions. So yes, we do have poop fairies out there. Who knew? Is there a way to tell dog poop from fox poop or coyote poop when it's not bagged?
It is. And I think I will go through that. I'll prepare for that. I don't have the things handy there, but I'll prepare for that when we do the 20th or another Zoom, right? So that I can show you different kind of poop. I mean, I didn't anticipate that we would talk about that. There is indeed a way of recognizing dog poop versus coyote poops and, you know.
Janine
fox
suggests
poop.
that it's got fur in it usually.
Yeah, some of them, but not always, you know, because it depends on the season, right? So foxes and coyotes at some point can we have a diet that is more made about seeds and things like that, right? So depending on the season, the scat is going to look differently as well.
I'm just reading from Janine. The shape is usually different. Dog poop is more uniform. Wild animals tend to be more tootsie roll sections and tapered.
Yep, there is a thing I have.
Excellent.
This is a good book, actually. Do I have the scat there? Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, you cannot see, but I have, because I have my background behind the scene, the Scats and Tracks of North America. It's a good one.
In the Chickatawbit area, there are occasionally horses. Does horse droppings of interest to this survey as well?
Well, yes, but not for this survey. We should really focus on the dog poop because, you know, the demographic or the behavior of horse owners versus dog owner is different there. I think that the Blue Hills, what they're trying to do is at least to alleviate the issue of the dog poop in the Blue Hills, right? So just a dog poop. And thankfully, horse versus dog poop is easy to recognize.
True. So we are about at the end. Is there one last question? Well, and you know where to reach us. You can totally contact me at judy@friendsofthebluehills.org, and you will be sure that I will contact you. So you can sign up for the January 20th walkthrough on site. And also we have the link to I'll send out again, the link to where you can sign up for your trail. I'm so excited that you are all interested. This is going to be so great. So thank you for helping us kind of figure out how this works and how we can best survey all of the trails. And thank you to Claire for both developing the app and being so willing to generous with her time and helping to train us. So thank you all and have a great evening.